Been looking at the... Oh my God! Over the years, there's been much talk of several big-name players that could have declared for the Republic of Ireland. Most recently, Jack Grealish and Declan Rice. But even Harry Kane is eligible as his father is from Galway. Now, obviously, none of this came to pass in real life. But I'm here to ask the important questions, damn it. Like, well, what if it did? Now, if you've seen the last couple of videos I've made like this with Suriname and Angola, you know that the results were extremely interesting, but I believe this one has the potential to be the most explosive one yet. And if you haven't checked out those other videos, I've linked the playlist in the description for your perusal. Of course, I'm always on the lookout for other nations to do this with, so do let me know any suggestions you have in the comments. The reason I chose Ireland for this one is because we'd been to the Americas with Suriname, and we'd done Africa with Angola, and I wanted to sort of rotate it around the globe. So today, we find ourselves in Europe. But to catch you up, we've now declared for the Republic of Ireland any player who has Irish second nationality. It doesn't matter how they've got it. It doesn't matter if they have other supplementary nationalities as well. They are all now declared for the Republic of Ireland national team. And we'll be seeing what effect this is going to have on Irish football over the next 15 to 20 years and comparing it with a control test that doesn't have any of these changes. In a slight twist on last time, this time around, we're going to be stopping the sim every 2 years to give me a chance to switch over any new players that come through with Irish second nationality over to Ireland, provided they meet a certain potential threshold. Otherwise, we'll be here all day. This is just to allow us to zero in on the fun stuff so we don't have to check in every single year. Ireland's historical high in the rankings is 6th in 1993, which is actually insanely high. And I very much hope that these changes could actually put them back on the path to potentially getting somewhat close to that. Although I imagine the competition is going to be extremely fierce. So if we can get them even anywhere near the top 10, I would be very, very happy. We'll more likely be judging them based on World Cup, Euros, and Nations League performances, which is what I think is going to matter the most. Now, they have been to 3 World Cups in their history, with the best performance being a quarterfinal exit to hosts Italy in Italia 90, but now they've not qualified for a World Cup in 20 years. They've also been to 3 European Championships, going out in the first knockout round of the past 2, most recently in 2016. The database setup this time is also slightly different. I have the Irish leagues loaded as playable as far down as I can go. I also have the Premier League and the Scottish Premiership loaded as playable, as well as the players from the leagues down to League 2 in both of those nations. That way they will still produce regens, but we don't have to worry about the slowdown in playing time and for the sim and stuff like that. I have really high hopes for this team, especially with the huge array of talent that they've just gained. But not only that, I think some of the big English and Scottish clubs could potentially produce some insane talent, which we're going to steal. So that is more than enough chit chat. You understand where we're at. Let's get jumping in. So here we are. This is the shortlist I'll of course be using to move players over. You can see, of course, they've got Harry Kane, Declan Rice, Jack Grealish. I totally forgot that James Maddison as well was also eligible. So that's another top quality player. But even they have some youngsters like Liam Delap available there too. Anthony Gordon as well, if you can sort his attitude out. And you can tell which players are ones I've moved over because they've got the double nationality thing here. I had to switch Callum McManaman when I started this, as for some reason he didn't get included. And I've just noticed there's a guy here who's Colombian with Irish second nationality who's 16 years old and is obviously one of those add players to playable teams, except he doesn't have a team. Who is Holden McCormick? He's a real player. That's dope. I don't know how he slipped through the net in the editor, but needless to say, Holman, welcome. We're just going to check in with the control group 20 years into the future to see what we're sort of going to have to compare ourselves to at that point. So let's go. They've actually fallen, in fact, all the way down to 61st at one point. So it seems that they've kind of just stuck around doing their thing really without any kind of notable changes. They did qualify for a World Cup in 2034, so that's something to beat. Came 3rd in their group and reached 2 more European Championships and went out 4th in both of their groups as well. So it's not that much to beat, to be honest. We're going to sim to December with the proper database and get ourselves a proper starting point so we can begin the proper simulations. This is going to be fun. It's going to be a long day, but buckle up. Let's go. So it's only 6 months into the future, just to give us a starting point. That way we can look at full years every time we do the simulations. But already, straight off the bat, they've gone up from, what is that, 50th from the beginning, and they're already up to 41st in less than half of a year. Oh, never mind. They actually did win it. 11 points in the end, and they won it on goal difference. So the first act is, presumably the reason they've moved up so far, is because they've already got themselves promoted to UEFA Nations Group A, which I believe is the top flight as well. So that's a great start. I would say finishing behind England in that is not going to be too difficult, provided they don't muck it up monumentally. But other than that, no housekeeping. We're going to go 2 years into the future now and really get started. 40th or 41st last time around. Have they bumped up in the world by that? I would be surprised if they haven't. And, oh, well, they did, and now they've fallen. But it's worth noting that Declan Rice is now the captain, presumably because, of course, Seamus Coleman would have retired by now. He was not the youngest at the time. Harry Kane now key player and still playing for them, most importantly, and the vice captain as well. So they've really bumped it up, and they've got, you know, Kane, Rice, Grealish, Calvin Phillips as well? How did I not even notice Calvin Phillips too? That is a really stacked, like, top 6 players they've got there. So hopefully they've got some good results. Oh, they actually did beat England. Okay. But, well, it sort of went okay there. So they've got some very strong... They got the draw against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Okay, fair enough. Good win against England, though, with Harry Kane, Malumbi, and Leo. Harry Kane scoring against England in an international game just doesn't sit right in my head. But there you go. Those are some great results. And I'll tell you what. So we'll quickly just skip to the next page to see how they got on in the Euros, because there's no way they didn't qualify for them. And... oh, they messed that up massively. They messed that up massively. So they lost to Poland in the Euros, 2-0. Then lost to England, 3-2, with an 85th minute winner from Marcus Rashford. They were even in front at one point in this game, and they did in fact beat Finland by a goal to nil through Declan Rice, but that's disappointing. After all that hard work, to then go and, like, balls it up. Baby steps, I suppose. It's worth noting that England went on to win the Euros here, so that's a good sign in the fact that Ireland were capable of beating them 3-0 at the Aviva. They've clearly got the quality there to make that happen. Just need a little bit more consistency, and I'm hoping that if we can keep some of the big names around for a little while, bring through some cool regens, and hopefully that could make a big difference in the future. They've got World Cup qualifiers coming up, but look at their group. That, if they can't get to a World Cup in that group, although Denmark could potentially cause a problem, I think they should be better than Denmark with the squad that they've got. Denmark actually are 12th in the world. I might have underestimated Denmark slightly with some of the players they've got. Come on, anyone oh no, wait. Oh, there we go. Bang, straight off the... wait, is he a real player? They've got a few youngsters here, including this guy, Russell Marshall of Manchester City, who's actually Welsh-Irish, but he's got 154, and an absolutely whole host of English players there in that same group, all 16 and 17 years old, all 147 to 150, including a guy that's come through at Kerry. It's especially worth noting that the two guys at Sheffield United and Liverpool already have insanely good CA as well. Chris Bridge-Wilkinson here, who just looks ridiculously good. Ignore the fact that some of the regens are going to have faces. It's because I use the Ziegen faces on my other save. There's sometimes some ID crossover, and it means that you get this. So don't worry, these guys are regens, as you can see from the fact that they genned in 2022. Okay, Ireland, and see how they've got on over the last couple of years. And they are... oh, my lordy. This, for me, this little bit down in the bottom right-hand corner, usually when you see these types of kind of graphs, indicates that something massive has happened. That could be World Cup qualification. It could be something to do with beating a high-ranked side. I always notice that tends to be the case. Or something to do with something they've done in a World Cup. And it's worth noting as well that Harry Kane is still playing for the national team 4 years in, which in my tests he did not do. So that's kind of cool as well. Really nice to see that. So, it's hard to say, looking at that. Draw with Denmark, lost to Hungary, draw with Denmark. I don't know if they've qualified, you know. Just part of that makes me think they haven't actually qualified. Let's see. Did they get to the World Cup? They did get... oh my... bloody England. It's always bloody England. They did get to the World Cup, and not only did they get to the World Cup, they progressed through 2 of the knockout rounds, knocking out Norway and the Netherlands, and reached a World Cup quarter-final. That's awesome. 5-1 hammering of Uzbekistan in there. This makes me think it was an expanded World Cup, actually, which maybe is why they qualified for it. 2-0 defeat to Argentina, but only losing 2-1 to England in that game too. Adam Ider, 2 goals from Tammy Abraham with the goals. Troy Parrott's winning goal against the Netherlands. So some of the existing players are actually getting goals for them, which is kind of sick. Okay. Wow, I did not see that coming. They actually won their qualification group. It seems that Denmark and Hungary were just enormously complacent. Denmark drew 5 of their matches, including home and away to Hungary and Ireland, including Northern Ireland in there as well, who are doing surprisingly well, considering I've nicked half their players. Worth noting that England, yet again, have won the World Cup. So I say yet again in terms of national tournaments. Both international tournaments have been won by England in this save. Could we have some of your players, please? We're trying to do that inevitably anyway. Oh, no 160s, but there is a 157 here. Colin Barton of, once again, Manchester City in there, but a couple of others at Man United and Man City. Connor Stobbs and Rob Walsh, also 149s. Mungo Passmore is an absolutely brilliant name. I've never met or heard of a person called Mungo before. And just scrolling down a bit further, you can see an Italian at Derry City, /Irish, of course, Leandro Della Torre. Presumably that's O Della Torre. It's Leandro O Della Torre, presumably. That's amazing. Come on! I hadn't even noticed that. They won the bloody Nations League group. This is what I was on about. I felt that there was a chance they could pull something like this off. And more importantly, did it in a group with England in it. Now, did they actually beat England in there? Or was it just defeats to England? They lost to England both times. Oh, that's England. What am I talking about? They did. They beat England home and away. I'm telling you, that knockout game against England at some point is coming, and they're going to bloody win it. They feel better than ever, and they're at the highest peak so far, which I believe is 26th. There's way more to come from them. This is in 4 years. So let's jump in and see where they got to. They were 26th on the rankings last time. I think they're going to be around about the same, unless they've had some massive turns up for the books. And they have actually slipped slightly down to 29th briefly. After actually maxing out at 25th, you'll see no Harry... well, actually, no. Technically, he is still listed there, and remarkably... He's like 35. That's amazing. And Marco Silva, of all people, is now the manager. Oh, no, they lost. I saw the green. I saw the green, and I thought they'd won it. But no, they lost to Germany 2-0 with Moukoko and Musiala, two of the best players in the world, probably, well, certainly getting up there at this point. But they did actually beat Italy in the third place game, which is kind of sick. To come third in there is really awesome. I'm honestly not sure. Let's see how that went, because they would have played the last Euros if they got to it, and they did, and they didn't qualify through it. They did get to it at least, but went out with Belgium, Italy, and Austria. A really tough group, to be fair, to have all three of those guys in there and not getting a single win. Doesn't, however, look like the Nations League has gone super well for them there. They did once again stay up. They didn't qualify for the next Nations League knockouts or anything like that, but they once again maintained their position in Group A. So the group is Bulgaria, France, San Marino, Latvia, and Slovenia. Basically, they have to finish behind France. If they can finish behind France with a decent number of points, I think they'll be absolutely fine in qualifying for the next World Cup, which I think is going to be a big one for them, and we do need to see them continually qualifying for it, which is the great thing. Any youngsters finally made their way in here? Yeah, here we go. This is more like it. The first three dudes that we moved over, I think, are moving in there. Although Clyde Malloy might have been just on the... No, I think he's just fully Irish, actually. Came through at Dundee, but I didn't remember moving him over. But the two guys that we highlighted in the first set was Matthew Kennedy and Chris Bridge-Wilkinson, because they had superior CA to go with relatively decent PA. But look at the... Oh my God! He's a goalkeeper. Jesus. That is more like it, my friends. They have a 190 PA goalkeeper in the Man City youth team who's 17 years old and is already playing for the under-21s. Let's have a look at Daniel Godwin. Light-hearted, which is not amazing. Determination isn't great. What's his media handling? Unflappable, which actually is a good sign, because that hints at really high professionalism, which is something that's really useful for developing a player. So I'm actually pretty pleased about that. I think it means he'll train well, even if he's not playing matches immediately. If he starts getting some football, get some loan moves or something, I think they've got a potential, like, Golden Glove, like world Golden Glove winning keeper there at 190. It was just straight up Irish. And as well, they've also got Gerd Deegan in there too at 162. A lot of the guys that I did move over in here, you'll see as well, like Connor Stobbs definitely is one I moved over, and Cockbill too, Hugh Pearce. Their under-21 squad is absolutely brilliant at the moment. And one thing that was pointed out in the comments of the Angola video is for us to maybe look at some of the under-21 and youth tournaments as well to see if there's any success there. And good idea. We'll probably check in with those at the midway point, which will be in the next little update. But that's awesome. Yes, this is more. Oh my goodness me, this has been an absolutely plum year. Dylan Beale and Graham White, 171 and 169. And that's what we need to replace the likes of Kane, Grealish, and Rice. We need players like this coming through. Now, obviously, these new guys are both 17, so I wouldn't expect to see much from them until like 2032. But if we keep getting a few more through in the next few years, these are the guys that are going to film the backbone. 8 years in, and I feel like at this point I should say apologies that sometimes I do talk ridiculously fast, especially when I get excited, which is probably what happened during that segment just before when we found that ridiculous goalkeeper. But for now, we put that aside and see how they're getting on. So, where are we at? Have we seen any improvements to where we were before? No, but they have at least pulled themselves back up the rankings again to being 26th. They maxed out at 25th so far, but they've not fallen down much as well, which is a good sign. Marco Silva still in charge. So qualification for the World Cup looks to have gone... Actually, I would say that's about perfect, to be honest. There's some huge wins in there. I think that's probably enough points for them to comfortably get second spot. Now, I believe it does go to like a certain number of second place teams. Hopefully that should be enough points. I can't remember exactly how it works, but we will find out when they get to the next World Cup. Hopefully they're there, and they are. And once again, they do progress this time to the third round. They don't quite get to the quarterfinals this time, going out to Uruguay. 4-0 in the group stage game here with goals from Obamadele and two from Evan Ferguson, one from Jack Grealish before losing to Mexico there, sadly, with a red card late on for Conor Gallagher. But they did knock out Norway, ironically, in extra time for the second time in this save. That's kind of mad. Also, you'll note the first scorer is Eric Last. Now, I noticed him when I was doing a little bit of the cleanup after the last little set, and I want to show you him now because he did play for Arsenal. He may not anymore. He actually does play for Arsenal. You'll see this chappy here came through at Bristol City. He's just an Irish player. That's why we didn't see him there, because he's just a player that's come straight in there. He is a fantastic striker. 18 finishing, 18 composure, model citizen personality, and he's only 23 years old. Kosovo, Kazakhstan, Romania, and Scotland. Now, obviously, Scotland... I suspect they'll have gone up a little bit in ranking because Scotland produce some quite good players too, usually in FM, because they often come through at the big English sides again, and at Celtic and Rangers too. But that feels like a group that they could potentially win fairly straightforward, you'd imagine, and will put them in a great spot for the 2032 European Championships. By then, you'll have people like Last will be like 25, Godwin will probably be like 21, so probably will be their starting goalkeeper, let's be honest. But these guys are going to really start aging into that Euros, and that 2032 Euros could be a big splash for Ireland, providing the right talent continues to come through. So we get, that's the wrong one. Hang on, I've got the search set up for just the Irish players. But if you were kind of interested in the best Irish players currently, that means that they've got all of these guys are over 150, which is bloody exciting, to be honest. With Rice and Grealish there too, but Dylan Beale, they're actually getting some, well, not a lot of football, but the CAs are going up too. Let's switch it back over to the second nationality people, and we get, oh dear. Okay, that is very, very disappointing. Oh, that is actually a catastrophic. Oh my god. What I'm really excited to look at is how they did in that European qualifying campaign, given the sheer amount of, in theory, winnable games they had. And I think that there's no way they couldn't have qualified for the Euros, but you just never know with this. How's it going, friends? What's going on? Okay, so that's World Cup qualification. Oh my goodness. 13th in the world. Okay, so as with last time, when we saw this big jump here, I believe that was for qualifying into the next round of some kind of tournament. And that would suggest to me that not only have they got to the Euros, that they may well have made it out of a group, which is great news and exactly what we needed. Any big names to see there, that's very interesting as well. You'll see Dylan Beale and Bridge Wilkinson in there too. So they've both clearly killed it. And it's really, really nice to see those guys. Still no sign of Godwin yet, but he's probably still, what was he, 21 at most? I wonder if he even made it into the squad for the Euros. Oh my lord. Okay, well that... That's one way of doing it, I suppose. They've won every bloody game on the way up to the Euros. That's bloody fantastic. Scotland or Romania were probably the second best side in the group beyond them, and they've made light work of them. That's 24 points out of 24 in that. That's fantastic news. So that's a good build-up for the Euros. The big question is then, how did they get on when they actually reached the Euros? Did they finally get through to the knockouts? Did they knock out Norway on extra time? Again, how did they go? That's yes! That is amazing that they won the Euros. They've only gone and won the bloody Euros. That is huge. Holy Christ, that would explain the giant jump in ratings that they've got in terms of the rankings. So they beat Switzerland 1-0 with Jason Knight with a goal, 2 goals against Ukraine. Interestingly, they beat Ukraine in a warm-up match as well. Bridge Wilkinson contributing to that and a Declan Rice penalty. Then a 0-0 draw against Sweden, but that must have been enough to top the group at that point. Turkey in the next round, Parrott and Ferguson again. Wow, really early goals in that game, then they just held on. They had quite an easy path, it seems. Like, to get to the semi-finals, they only had to knock out Turkey and the Czech Republic, and they did that very easily by the looks of things. Ferguson, again, he is killing it. Matthew Kennedy with the icing on the cake, but then to beat Germany with, again, Parrott and Ferguson. I think, honestly, what this is going to show is that Ireland, generally speaking, have a pretty bright future in general with the real players that are coming through, because it seems to be that those guys, Parrott and Ferguson, are really contributing a lot. And then in the final, Dylan Beale with the first minute goal. That might want to be one of his first international goals. Isn't he a left back? And you'll note that Gavin Bazuna was in goal for them during this period, so that means no Godwin. But that is outrageous. I mean, we did say that when they last played England, they beat them home and away in that qualifying campaign and made it look like they finally had England's number. And they have finally had England's number. They didn't even concede a goal in the Euros from the quarterfinals onwards. I was not expecting this. If I thought this might happen, I thought it might have been like maybe Euro 36 or maybe 40 when some of the other guys come through, but they've actually done it with a mix of some of the real players and a decent chunk of regions in there too, but the real guys are carrying. Let's have a look at the final. Did they deserve it? They bloody well did. England got Chris Chalk and Mark Gay injured in the first half, which possibly could have contributed to it a little bit. England playing a very narrow system. Clearly these guys are good. They wouldn't be starting for England if they weren't, but that is some performance from Ireland there to actually not only win, but deserve to win. Looks like it was quite a good game, but that early goal from Dylan Beale is massive. Was that his only England goal to this? That was his first Ireland goal. Not England goal, Ireland goal. His first ever goal for Ireland was the goal that won them the Euros. Things you bloody love to see, and that would explain the huge jump up in the rankings. Honestly, if nothing else amazing happens in the rest of this video, I will still think that this is a massive success for them, and think of the players they've got coming through still. I'm really excited about what's to come now. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Marco Silva as a Fulham fan anyway. Signed the new contract, Marco. But even so, that he's got chops there, my friends. And Colin Gallagher, captain in the team at this point. Declan Rice still in the squad. So let's have a look at the squad. It won't be the exact squad that won them the Euros, of course, but I mean, you can see now that it's starting to get some of the youngsters in there. So they've brought in Stobbs is up there now fully. He's one of the 140 dudes. They've got Daly in there at 153. Graham White is a 169. Obviously, Godwin in there too. Beale, and interestingly, a guy here called Kevin Sheridan, who's not got the highest PA, but his CA is tremendous for his age anyway. There you go. Wow, that was a while ago. So they actually won the UEFA Under-21 Championship in 2027 and have won back-to-back, well, technically not in the last recent years, back-to-back European Championships with the Under-19s as well, and a runner-up in 2032. There is a huge talent of youth teams coming through, and they are winning those tournaments. I don't know how much that contributes to world ranking. That is really, really exciting to see what these guys are going to do. So now, the final icing on the cake would be if we've got some gems ready to convert. Now, last time was crap, I will admit, and that could cost us, but we need some good players this time around. What have you got for me, Ireland? Do we have any... you know what? That's actually really good. It's not like the heights of the 190 guys or anything like that, but we've got a couple of dudes here. Interestingly, it's Anthony Gordon's at Marseille there. So we've got Junior Onyekuru, who is at Chelsea, half Nigerian, half Irish, which is really cool. Sean Flores on top of that as well with a 158. And a couple of guys at Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man City as well. 2 more goalkeepers. My God. Also, Vinny Dance is a tremendous name. He better have one flair. How can you be called Vinny Dance and have 1 flair? Not allowed. Where are they up to these days? European qualifying, that doesn't mean a lot, I suspect, because the group is brand new, and they are 11th in the world. They've continued to rise as Thomas Tuchel is now the manager. Did not know that was a thing. I mean, they lost to Brazil, unfortunately. They also conceded to San Marino. But that is beside the point. That's a really successful World Cup qualifying campaign, pretty much binning everybody off except an away defeat to Norway, their old enemy, though they did manage to beat them at home. Oh, 3rd round of the World Cup as well. Look at that group. Senegal and Panama. But the point being, obviously they're games you'd expect them to win, Panama especially, but Senegal are a good side. To hammer them 5-0 really does show that they've strengthened a lot. Dylan Beale now with a hat-trick. 2 more goals for Evan Ferguson. How many has he got for Ireland now? This is a good amount, surely. 58 goals and 102 international appearances, and he's clearly still playing for them. What a striker he could hopefully be in the future for Ireland, but also Dylan Beale really killing it as well. Hammer the Ivory Coast 4-1 in the 2nd round and only narrowly go out to Italy in the 3rd round there, so at least they did qualify for it. Took them extra time. Sheridan's goal, the guy with the worst PA in the entire team, gets the equaliser, but Nonto, still playing, grabs the winner for Italy. At least they qualified for the World Cup after all. It'd be weird if a team had won the Euros and then not qualified for the World Cup. Looking at you, Italy. And somewhere in there, and I must have completely glossed over this last time around because I was so excited by the Euro result, they must have dropped down to Group B finally as far as the Nations League go. And Daniel Godwin, now at 23, still only a 130 CA, now plays for QPR in the Championship. He better be on loan, I swear to God. They've got a 190 CA goalkeeper and he's 23, and he only has 1 cap for the Republic of Ireland. If you guys waste him, typical, isn't it, that the best player in the entire thing has got 1 cap for Ireland. So he's still very young, and he is a goalkeeper, and that's the beautiful thing about him. Goalkeeper's progression can go on a lot longer than other players. Under 21 squad, oh baby, there's another one. Ross McCary, 173. Plays for Aston Villa, ready to come through. Oh, wow, an American. Okay, cool. There's a lot of players, actually, just not at the very top end. I'm always used to looking further down, but of course, as some of the guys that we double dipped on, if you like, retire, they just move off of this list. So Sebastian Chan, a 155. They've got, what a great name, Darius Longrig here at Liverpool. 146s, Edward Lambert, Michael Golding. So Ireland, where are we at? Well, they're in World Cup qualification. Not that that would be an issue for them. And, ooh, okay. So they have slipped a little bit from that 11th spot. Still sitting in 13th place, which is fantastic. Billy Dodds is now the manager. Tuchel did not last especially long there, did he? So, ooh, okay, that's, to be fair, they got the victory at home against Croatia away from home. They beat Belgium away from home. They lost to them in the home game and lost away in Croatia. 2 defeats in that group is a little bit suspicious. I think we'll save ourselves looking at the group specifically until we've seen what actually happened when they got to the Euros, hopefully. Oh, that's... What is it? Italy are the new Norway. I'm telling you now, Italy are the new Norway. They beat Bosnia. They drew with England. They've clearly managed to get one over on England, although admittedly this time it was a draw against England, but they clearly have England's number. Kevin Sheridan's formed himself a hell of a career in the Irish national team, despite not really having that high PA. I guess he's maxing his CA out there. But yeah, Barry Hawthorne with the equalising goal in the end, but then they lost to Denmark as well. This time going out to Italy through Luigi Zappa. So that's the last 2 major tournaments now. They've been eliminated by Italy. As soon as they found a way to conquer the old enemy of England, and they did it in style with those 2 qualifying wins and then beating them in the Euros final, Italy have now come along. Honestly, the one thing I want to have happen now in the rest of this video is for them to beat Italy in a match, but I still think there's more to come from them. So that's not gone particularly well. Let's find out who actually won this Euros, though, at least. And it was the Dutch. They went out to the eventual finalists. What we got? So Daniel Godwin's now at Watford. So he's moved around a little bit, up to 147 CA. So he's definitely getting there. He's probably, him and Bazunu are probably vying out for the main starting spot in the squad, but I feel like it's not going to be long until he overtakes Bazunu, and he's still only 25. That's the key thing. Has he got many more more caps, 2 more caps, but he really is developing now, and that's kind of key. Watford paid £20 million to QPR for Daniel Godwin, and that makes me think that, yeah, he is the starting goalkeeper in a Premier League side now, so hopefully he can really get that development nailed. Oh, actually, you know what? I got a bit disappointed at first, but actually, that's pretty good. Darnell Carville and Joe Scott from Fulham and Manchester United, both over 160 as well, 16 and 17 years old respectively, which would put them at the end of this sort of 22-23. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Maybe the Fulham guy might get more football potentially. We're getting into the home stretch. It's going to take a long time, but I'm ready for it, and I hope you are too, because I just have a bloody great time making these videos, honestly. It might take a long time to make and edit, but they're just really fun to see all the different permutations and how things work out. And the fact that we've now got a Euros to our name as well from doing this is awesome. But it's not a World Cup. This video series is not called Could Ireland Win the Euros? Although, is it too late to change the title? Ireland, where are they at right now? European qualifying, that doesn't really matter right now. What's the situation? And they are just steady as a rock in 13th. They briefly blipped up to 12th. What's the betting? He's moved to a massive side now. He's a backup goalkeeper or some nonsense like that. But yeah, Ian, he looks very angry in that picture. Maybe that's why it was an insecure job, but it's not the same manager. So that does suggest something's happened there. Let's go and switch over to the first year. So World Cup qualifier looks to have gone extremely well. Despite a defeat in Israel, they're playing a 4-4-2 now, so I don't know if Evan Ferguson's playing anymore. Good win against Liechtenstein, some good results there, and that presumably would have just absolutely decimated the results, right? I realised we hadn't actually looked at qualifiers for a little while, but, you know, 9 wins out of 10, 27 points, coasting their way to the next World Cup, so there's no danger of them not qualifying for it, so I wonder what that insecure job was about, unless the guy left right before the World Cup. Also, minus 40. Bloody hell, Liechtenstein, that's pretty poor. Even Gibraltar managed to get a point. And that actually, to be fair, in the group they did well. Beating Paraguay, got a draw with South Korea, Eric Last with a brace there, and Deegan actually, or Gur, getting a goal. But then against Germany, it all came tumbling down. Eric Last's goal got the equaliser for them at 3, in fact, from Fabio Lambert's. Where's my man Godwin? 148, and he's at Newcastle now. Oh god, this is my worst nightmare. No offence, Newcastle, because I have a sneaky suspicion he's not going to be starting for them, because he's just not been able to develop in the last couple of years, and I reckon he's moved for massive money and is now being wasted. Nice to see, though, that Ross McCary, the youngster from Villa at 21, is already in the national team and killing it. So he only went to Newcastle for £22 million, and he's played 3 times. Why would you do this? Although, admittedly, that looks like that was this season. So that was this summer. That's fine. He still only has 8 caps for Ireland. What are we doing here? Oh, this is the biggest waste of talent I've seen in this since we've been doing these videos, I have to admit. We've seen some bad ones, but this is beyond the pale. And now he's at Newcastle, but he's only played 3 games this side of Christmas. He's a backup goalkeeper at Newcastle. Literally, that's his actual squad status. Oh, God. Never mind. Hey, we tried, right? Yeah, I mean, they're good players, don't get me wrong. Like, here I am complaining about guys with 150 PA, which is fantastic. Another dude from UCD as well. And there's quite a lot of them, including a Finnish dude here, actually, Ollie Manninen at West Ham. Can they finally crack the top 10? That would be the final nail in the coffin of loveliness in this. And, oh, for God's sake, Ireland, come on. What are we doing? Ian, get your act together, buddy. They've actually slipped down to 15th now. They've been consistently in the top 15 now for the best part of a decade. They are clearly up there as one of those nations that are just on the cusp of hitting that. So looks like relatively easy qualification, although a draw in Estonia is kind of strange. Lost to Greece and actually got wins home and away against Switzerland, which is surprisingly good. I suspect that was more than enough for them to qualify, though, which is good news. The question is, how did they get on at the Euro? Oh, for God's sake. They had Wales and Bulgaria in their group, got 4 points, qualified for the next round, and then went out to Germany again. Isn't that the second time in a row they've now gone out to Germany? So it was Italy, it was England, then they beat England and Germany, then it was Italy, and now it's Germany. They just can't catch a break. And also that UEFA Nations League is looking a bit funky as well, with Belgium and Romania in there. What's that, 7 points they've got? Yep, they do in fact stay up, but it was quite tight. Italy in the end winning it fairly comfortably. Speaking of the squad, so what we got? Eric Last is, oh good lord, where is he gone? No, please, don't do this to me. Oh, bro's not even in the squad. Daniel Godwin is the goalkeeper at Newcastle. He is now the first choice goalkeeper, and he's now got 18 caps for the Republic of Ireland. Oh, and you know what? I take it all back. He actually got injured playing for Ireland against Belgium and was out for 3 months with a broken ankle. Who have they got to help them on the way? And actually, you know what? Lee Austin, a 169, and he's already 117 CA. Which is pretty solid, playing for Bournemouth, clapping it. There's so many more players. That's another like 15 guys I'm going to have to move over. So they've clearly got the quality, but it's just about that next level. So then, my friends, we made it to the end. 20 seasons in, But there is only one question that really needs to be answered. They had that one last go at things with, I think it's the World Cup. I've actually lost track. My brain is that fried. Oh, I've spelled Ireland wrong. That's how tired I am right now. Right, let's go. Ireland are up to, oh, God. Defeating noises. That doesn't look great. They're down to 17th now. So they look to have qualified for the World Cup fairly straightforward here. Group E, couple of draws, but that's it. They managed to win every other match in qualification. Don't think we really need to investigate that too far. Oh, God. If they've been knocked out by Italy or Germany, I swear to God, watch them knock out the group or something. Oh, come on. Now, they drew against Romania in both of their qualifying games as well. And then got knocked out with another draw on penalties. McCary actually getting the equaliser there for them in the game, but 2 missed penalties, including one by McCary. And they get taken out on penalties. 39 caps. He's still not really getting the caps now. I think he's got a few more in the last few years, but he still doesn't seem to be playing a lot for Ireland. He's 31 now and he's only got 40 caps. That's kind of mad. He has nearly as many under 21 caps as he does full Irish international caps. Scotland, incredibly, under Russell Martin, are up to 18th. Oh, God, have I accidentally built Scotland again? It feels like every time I do a save and I just include Scotland in some way, they just do ridiculous things. Maybe all those people asking me to do Scotland, maybe they were right all along. Also, big shout out to Ross. Parents hate him. I feel I've done this joke before in one of these. All in all, I'm still very happy. However, I do have some unanswered questions, and I think I might do a little bit of a sim without actually touching anything else, just to see if they can get something with these players that they've got. It won't really count too much, but I'm just a man of curiosity, all right? Call me a benevolent god, but don't do that. That's weird. One thing I will say, though, is that I looked at the youth rating again, and it's something we didn't really discuss so much with Angola, and that is that the youth rating is 86. Wait, what? I checked this 2 years ago, and it was 87. The youth rating in the game at the start is 83, so it's only gone up by 3. They won a European Championship, and their youth rating's gone up by 3. Which is kind of mad, and the fact that it's gone down by 1 as well is kind of disgusting to me. Hello, friends. Welcome to next week. It's Monday. I'm wearing different clothes. We're all into the next week now. But what I have done is gone 10 years into the future. I did think about going a little bit more, but the reason I stuck to 10 was because the only thing that you can see on the rankings is the last 10 years. So I thought it made sense for us to at least be able to see that. Now, I don't really suspect that they'll have gone much beyond where they were. In fact, I would have expected to see a steady decline, probably back to around about mid-20s. That would be my guess, as we're no longer propping them up with the ridiculous English players, and mostly English players, let's be honest. So what we're going to do is have a look at that, see any tournaments that they've been in the last 10 years to wrap things up, have a look at any players they could have had over that period that I wouldn't have been able to switch over. I think what I might do for the next one of these, though, is I like the 2-year jumps in simulations because it keeps things moving a little bit and there's always something interesting. However, I'll probably stagger it slightly differently. That way there's no risk of any spoilers for myself, most likely, because I can edit around of it for you, but I sometimes end up accidentally nearly spoiling it for myself, having to click through 2 schedule pages that reveals a national tournament rather than the qualifiers. So it would be the other way around, essentially, and that I think would make it more fun. Ireland, where are we at, friendos? Obviously, it's going to revert back to the squad page because I've obviously been playing a different save since then, so we'll just ignore that for a second. And they are... Oh, I'm really annoyed because they're 13th, which is the highest they've been literally since we stopped. They had the 11th, obviously, under us there too, but this is without me moving any new players over. You'll also note there that Darnell Carvel at PSG, one of the guys that we actually brought over, he was the former Fulham dude. And there's some new chaps in here whose names I don't even remember. Okay, so I saw some clumps of green, but it wasn't looking like it was good clumps of green, sadly. So that was where we last left off, obviously, with that terrible World Cup performance, then a crap Nations League performance. Then they absolutely killed it in Euros. Absolutely killed it. Once again, beat England. They're still proving that they've got that kind of quality there. They just can't seem to do it often enough in the big national tournaments, other than that one Euros. Moving on from that, this is what I mean. How do you manage that? It's like they're scared of the Euros. After that one win, they're just like, no, I don't want to touch it no more, mate. 7 points in the Nations League. Looks like that'll probably be enough. So then it's into World Cup qualifiers, and that looks fairly straightforward as well. Some draws against Ukraine and Belgium in there. I feel like they still would have qualified for that World Cup, most likely, which they didn't. Okay. Whatever flavour's the quickest. Big flowers. My favourite flavour of flower is big.
Oh, one of the petals fell off.
Oh, no, mate. Travesty. See what I have to put up with.
Deal with me.
Deal with me. Drink me in. So, before we were so rudely interrupted by Pog, yeah, Nations League, well, they missed the World Cup, which is just great, isn't it? Then a Nations League in which, yeah, they seem to return to old form against England a little bit there, and I wonder if this is sort of the inertia of the squad sort of wearing off a little bit. Then into the Euro qualifying, that looks like a good enough campaign to... Oh, they can beat Scotland there, when it matters. Also, did they... Oh, they lost to France both times. This should be enough for the Euros, I'd have suspected. And second round with only a winning... They beat the Netherlands. Why is it them not being... And they went out to Italy. Of course they did. Of course they bloody did. World Cup qualifier. That's much more like it, albeit a much easier group. But Yeah, that is a huge result for them. Did they finally do something good at the World Cup? This might have been the patch of green that I saw on the little thing. And, oh, do you know what? That's a bit more like it. Went out to England again, though. Of course they bloody did. But really good results against Nigeria, Uzbekistan, and the US there with a 3-0 victory. Suddenly looked a little bit more like it. And also, that Nations League result there, that's 13 points. I wonder if that's enough for them to actually go to the potential Nations League after that. But not bad for the World Cup there, going out to England as per, just because, of course. Ross McCary had a day, scores a goal, scores an own goal. Good times for him. Any chance they went to the... Yes, they did. They actually got there. Fair play. So that's only the second time in the save that they actually reached the Nations League semi-finals. They went out again, admittedly. But there you go as well. Also, Euro qualifiers looking fairly straightforward. No problems qualifying for Euros 2052, which is their last chance to do anything in the save. And, oh, bloody hell, semi-final. Well, I'll be damned. And they beat England again. Norway, Switzerland, and England didn't... Well, they did concede goals in there. Then they knocked out Belgium 2-0. Netherlands 4-3 and got to the semis against Spain. Oh, God, that's probably why they've got such high ranking at this current time, because they reached so far into that as well. That's dope, though. The fact that they reached a European semi-final 10 years after we did it. Oh, it makes you wonder, though, could they have won another one if I'd have just given them a few more players, which we're now going to have a look at who they've lost out on over this last 10 years. Anyone amazing in here? Wow, there's a lot of Northern Irish chaps. Like a lot of Northern Irish players, which would explain why Northern Ireland have become so good over the last decade. Holy crap, look at this. So obviously they've missed out on Jamie Ireland. They missed out on Jamie Ireland, who's playing for Scotland. It was the perfect meme and you messed it up. More important than that is just the fact that there's a whole clutch of players here. There's like 6 of them who are all like well above average, awesome players. Albeit some of them haven't actually reached that level yet, as they're still very young. But they're all Northern Irish. That's kind of sick, the fact that they've just randomly all gemmed like that. We weren't seeing that many Northern Irish players that I was actually moving over during the save. So it's kind of weird that it's all started happening now. But all in all, I'm still extremely pleased with how this has gone. I think it's probably been one of the most successful ones we've done so far. Not in terms so much as the amount of gains that we've made in terms of the world ranking, as they only went up by a certain amount because it gets very difficult once you break into this area. But the fact that they won a Euros, reached the semi-final of a Euros as well, they reached the Nations League semi-finals twice. World Cups were a bit iffy for them. I'm thinking England and Italy for that mostly. And it feels like they possibly should have done better at one of the World Cups, but that's just life. So if you enjoyed this video, drop a like. New to the channel, subscribe. I'm streaming on Twitch right now so we can go and discuss the results, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Hold your gun, capybara, bye-bye.